Alright, so it's currently Tuesday, and I want to try to make a Fortnite creative map and get into Discovery before the weekend, because that's when most players are on Fortnite. So I'm gonna see if I can pull it off, and then at the end, I'm gonna show you guys all the analytics and if we got into Discovery or not. Alright, so last video I built this train and I want to turn it into a full game. So I made this blueprint to help explain the idea I have. What we got is the island, right? And the train tracks are fully complete. What we need to do is make this little town, and the map's going to be a free-for-all. So when the game starts, players will buy the weapons inside the town. And I'm thinking there'll be like a 30-second timer before the train starts moving. So players will have to buy their weapons and then jump on the train before the timer ends. And I'm thinking I'll add some guards within the town, so if players don't buy their weapons on time, the guards will eliminate them. I think it'll be fun because it'll be a fast-paced map, so that's the plan. So the first thing I did was download this town on Sketchfab and then just imported it into UEFN, and it's completely free, so this will work perfectly. And I'm gonna just take some of these buildings and build a little town right here. So the reason I downloaded this instead of just using the Fortnite presets is because I feel like the more assets you have within your project, the higher chance of getting featured. At least that's from my experience. Every time I have more assets within the project, the map always seems to get featured right when I publish the map. So that's why I downloaded this town from Sketchfab and didn't just use some of the Fortnite presets. So we'll just have to see if that's true when we go to publish the map. But the town is now complete, and I even added some gravel on the floor, and I think this looks absolutely perfect. So I would say the town is fully complete. Alright, so the next thing we got to do now is add the weapons and ammo. So I just added these crates and got the vending machine and changed the style to be the Western style, then just added the ammo inside the vending machines. And the reason I'm gonna make it so players have to buy the ammo is because I wanted to feel like the Bed Wars map. I don't know, I just feel like it's fun if players had to buy ammo instead of just having infinite ammo. So I then just added the consumables, and then I had to add the weapons, and I wasn't sure which weapons to add within the map. So I just looked up the Bed Wars loophole, and I actually couldn't believe it, but there's a whole website that shows every weapon that's inside the Bed Wars map. So I just copied the weapons that are within the Bed Wars map, and I wasn't too happy with how it turned out. I think it just looks a little too cluttered over in this one area. So I'm gonna just move all the weapons over to this side, and I think it will look much more cleaner. Alright, so the weapons are now done, and I think moving it over to this side makes it look much better. And then later I'll add the currency so players have to actually buy the weapons and they won't be free. But I'll do that at the end. But now it's time to move on to the next thing I want to add within the map, and that is a vault. And there's two ways we can do it. The first way is the most popular way with this vault indoor, but I don't really want to do it this way. I want to use this vault instead, and I just want to make it so it randomly opens up like every 3 rounds, and then just loot will come out. So something like this. So pretty much when the round starts, it'll be like a 33% chance if it opens up, and then just loot will come out, and no one can go inside the vault or anything. But I think it'll be a fun thing to add within the map. So I'm just go over to Photoshop and make some graphics so players know how the vault works, and then we'll just add the mechanics to make this actually work. Alright, so this is how the graphics turn out, and I think these look pretty cool. So I just added them into UEFN, and then just made a Niagara system so the image will face the player. And I then just did all the mechanics, and then the vault was finally complete. So this is how it turned out, and it only opens up 1 round out of 3. So it's just completely random, but I think this turned out to be pretty cool. Alright, so I had to start going a little bit faster because it's already Thursday and we still got half the checklist we got to do. So the next thing I added was the damage multipliers, and I was kind of in a rush, so I don't really have the best footage, but I just added these floors and then decorations, and then just got the damage multiplier and headed into Photoshop and made these graphics, added them into the game. And unfortunately I kind of forgot to show the finished result. So here's what it looked like in UEFN. Alright, so the next thing we got to do is add the guards, and I want to make it so they're sleeping until the train starts moving. So I just headed over to Mixamo and rigged up whatever the skin is called to have 3 different sleeping animations, and then just imported the animations into Blender, added the materials back, and now we got sleeping guards on the ground. But to be honest, they kind of just look like they're dead. So I just headed into Photoshop and made this little graphic so you know they're sleeping. And I then just added the guard spawner, so after the timer ends and the train starts moving, the guards will spawn and then eliminate their remaining players. And I kind of forgot to show the finished result, but at the end when I show off the map, I'll show how it works. But the last thing we got to do now is just extend the train. So currently the train is only this long, and I need the train just to be a little bit longer because the map's going to be a free-for-all. So this is how it came out, and I even added some props inside the cards. So with that, the checklist was finally complete. Alright, so just to give a little demonstration of the map before we publish it, when you start the game, I made some voice lines so players know how to actually play the game. And then you can buy your weapons. We got the guards sleeping, and we got the vault that only opens up 1 out of 3 rounds. On the top, we got the timer until the train starts moving, and of course the damage multipliers. And I just added the test dummies so I can show you how the map works. So you see when the train starts moving, the guards spawn and eliminate the players that aren't on the train. And I also made this gold effect when you eliminate a player. And yeah, pretty much it's just a free-for-all on this train. I think it turned out to be pretty cool. So now it's time to go publish the map. Alright, so I think I'm just going to call the map Train Wars. It's simple, and I think it just works perfectly. And then for the description, I'm going to just go over to Fortnite.gg, and I'm going to just copy someone else's description and go to ChatGPT and have it change it up a bit. So it came up with something like this, and this is good for now. I then just filled out all the other information, and now we got to make the thumbnail for the map. And I kind of got inspired by the Bed Wars map. So this is how it came out, and I think this looks pretty good. So I just added the thumbnail, and I also added the square thumbnail. I don't really know what it does, but I want to fill out everything so we have the best chance of getting featured. And I also made a whole trailer for the map. If you guys want to watch it, I just posted it on the channel, and the last thing I had to do was just fill out the attributes. But then I just published the map, and now we just gotta wait till it gets approved. Alright, so it's now Thursday, so it's been a few days since the map has been out, and I'm gonna show you guys all the analytics in Fortnite.gg. Then I'm gonna go over to the Fortnite creator portal, and those analytics get a little bit deeper. So let's just start with Fortnite.gg, and right off the bat, there's 0 players. But we did get featured right when I released the map on Saturday, and it only got featured for 20 minutes. But I have a theory of why it didn't get featured after that, and I'll get into that when we go into the creator portal. But you'll see we didn't get featured since this Saturday. But let's go over to the creator portal, and the first thing is we got 100,016 impressions. So 116,000 people saw it in the discovery, and the click-through rate is about 3. So I don't know if that's good or not, but if we go down, you'll see the first day that it got featured, it got 112,000 impressions. And then ever since then, it's just kind of been dying the map. But then if we go over to plays, we got a total of 489 plays. And the first day, Saturday, it got 420 plays. And then ever since then, the map has just slowly been dying because they haven't featured it since. And the reason we haven't got featured since, and here's my theory, is because if we go over to gameplay, the session length is 7 minutes. And that is absolutely terrible. And the reason I think that is if no one else is playing the map, it's extremely boring. I mean, there's nothing to do. Since the map is a free-for-all, if you join and there's only like 1 player in the map, I mean, you're just going to kill the same player. So people are probably joining the map, no one's in the map, and then just leaving the map. So that's kind of the issue with discovery, is you never really get a fair chance. If there were like 1,000 people playing the map concurrently, when players join, there will at least be people playing, so then you have people to play against. So there's really nothing I can do about that. It's just kind of luck at that point. So that's my theory of why it didn't get featured after the first 20 minutes. But if we go down to game XP, I added 2 XP devices, one when you purchase an item and one when you get an elimination. And you see that people are actually eliminating people and buying stuff, so it means that people are playing the map. It's just people aren't playing long enough. But that's all for the gameplay tab. If we go over to engagement, this is just more of the engagement. It just tells you the total amount of playtime, and it's like, what do we got? 52 hours of total playtime. And then new and returning, nothing really cool here. But let's just go over to this last tab, satisfaction. And did you have fun? 3 people said no and 1 person said yes. I guess if no one was in the map to play with, it was not fun. And then how difficult was your game? Way too difficult. So maybe if you like join the map and no one's playing it, it probably is kind of difficult to understand. But now for the best part, the monetization. How much did we make off of about 400 players in total? So we made a total of $10 to $3, and I probably spent about like 30 hours making this map. But you see, the first day we made like $2, and then after we just made a few cents. So was this a complete fail? I don't think so. We did get featured for the first 20 minutes, and I think if players were actually in the map playing, and if you join when people are playing, the engagement would be much higher. So I think that's just kind of a problem with discovery. But overall, I mean, I had a fun time making this map, and I think this was extremely informational. So if you guys did enjoy, please consider subscribing and liking. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.